thanks everybody for taking the time to be here. The Senate Tax Committee has been working very hard, hearing all of the provisions that were in the House's bill and the Governor's bill, and today we heard the federal conformity provisions that were in the Governor's bill and the House's bill, and we have said all along, once we have heard all of the provisions, that the Senate was not going to send anything up to the floor that wasn't in the possession of the Tax Committee. So that is now concluded. Senator Skoye's office sent out today a public notice that House File 1777, the House tax bill, is scheduled for a hearing tomorrow and Thursday. In the Tax Committee. I met with, and we didn't just arrive at this, I met with Senator Hand 2 weeks ago, asked him about the urgency of the federal conformity provisions and might he be willing to suspend the rules in order to take it up as soon as we could get it up to the floor. I then circled back with him shortly ago and laid out for him what he can expect to see in the bill. The bill is going to be publicly released tomorrow, and asked him to check with his caucus and see if there's a willingness to put up a supermajority of the votes to take it up for immediate consideration on Thursday. So our intent would be on Thursday, Senator Skoye would hear the bill, mark up the bill with any potential amendments that people have, send it up to the floor of the Senate, and if Senator Han is willing to suspend the rules, we're willing to suspend the rules and take it up for immediate consideration and send it back to the House. So that's where that issue's at. We've been working very hard. You got to remember, we're barely 2 weeks into this session, and this is an extraordinary accomplishment this early in the year to get a major tax bill that is going to spend north of $400 million. And Senator Skoye could speak to the details. I think about $1 billion in the next biennium is going to be spent in this bill. That is a significant piece of legislation, and for that to happen this early in the session is, I think, quite a testament to our willingness to run this session just as an expeditious way as we can to get in and get the people's work done and go home. With that, Senator Skoye has the tax bill sitting right there. And if you've got any questions about provisions that are in it, I'm sure he's willing to talk to you about them.
Is there a provision in it regarding the office building?
There's not.
Dayton said bluntly that you all have delayed the tax bill because of the dispute over the Senate office building.
We just heard the federal conformity provisions this morning, and I've been very clear all along this session that we're not going to put a bill up on the floor of the Senate until we've heard all of the provisions. And so I don't believe it's been delayed any. I don't know how much faster we could have gotten this up to the floor than we're doing right now. But the Senate building is not in the bill.
And is not the reason that it has taken 2 weeks?
We've been holding hearings starting at 8 o'clock. We now have gone through the provisions that are in the bill. This is the final draft. I just left Senate Council. We went through make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. This is the language we're going to offer into it as an amendment into House File 1777 tomorrow morning. So it will be available for public tomorrow. We will mark the bill up on Thursday morning and pass it to the floor. And if the Republicans, Senator Han and their colleagues, are willing to suspend the rules, our expectation is Thursday afternoon that we would be debating this on the floor.
Generally speaking, what's different about it than the version you got sent to you from the House?
Well, it's not as much difference as one might think. We're very comparable with regard to conformity. We are including the 3 sales tax expansion repeals. We do have some Senate improvements, significant beef up to working family credit, which I think is very important. We are including a couple of the governor's provisions with regard to angel investor credit and gift tax repeal. Other than that, the provisions that the House sent over are very similar to the language they sent over to us.
So did you talk in your meeting Leader, today with the governor and the other leaders, did you talk about the Senate office building has to come before a tax bill? That's what the governor told us in no uncertain terms.
We have all along urged the House Rules Committee to act. There you can see by looking at the scaffolding, our Capitol is under major renovations, and the Senate is about to be impacted in a significant way. And we don't understand why the House Rules Committee hasn't acted, except to say that they're not impacted by what's going to happen at the Capitol. None of their offices are impacted. Their chamber is not going to be impacted. What we know is that after the 2015 session, the Senate is going to have to vacate this building, and it's going to be turned over to the contractors. And there will be no Senate staff, no senators left in here. We will not have a chamber for the 2016 session. And we understand that's not the House's problem. But it is a serious problem for how the Senate is going to function after the end of the 2015 session. We're very disappointed that the House Rules Committee has been unwilling to take up the approval that's required of them. And I expressed that today to the governor and to the speaker, that we remain to be very, very concerned about that. And, I think what's interesting about the Capitol renovations is the governor's almost doubling his footprint in the Capitol under the new tentative space allocation. The judiciary is going to get this room back. The services for the blind are adding significant space. The Historical Society is almost doubling the amount of space they're going to have in the Capitol. The Senate is giving up about 38,000 square feet of the current space that we occupy in this building. The press corps is going to add a couple thousand square feet. Clearly the accommodations we've had for you aren't adequate going forward. So when you start adding all that up, and the Senate gives away 38,000 feet, and the House is getting significant new space. They're going to take over hearing rooms 1-7 and 112 for caucus rooms, for their caucuses. So all of the parties that are currently have space in the Capitol are going to gain space, all at the Senate's expense, and all predicated upon the fact that we're going to have to build a new place for the Senate to be officed. And to think that the Senate is going to give up all this space and just be kicked out on the street, that's just not going to happen. And we just don't understand why the House hasn't acted with some urgency. There are going to be significant impacts on the construction schedule on this building coming very, very soon if some space isn't get under construction for the Senate.
But to my question, Leader, did you say we have to have an agreement on the Senate building before we'll pass a tax bill?
I asked the Speaker to take it up in the Rules Committee tomorrow and pass it, because there is urgency and how closely it is linked with the renovations of the Capitol. Now, I suppose they can choose not to do that. If they choose not to do that, we're still going to proceed with the tax bill that has not only the House provisions, but many of the provisions that the governor has also proposed. I think the one provision that Senator Skoye didn't mention is we are going to do, I believe, about $15 million with the angel investor credit that the governor had in his bill. That is a provision that the House did not have. So there are provisions both from the House and from the governor's tax bill that will be included.